All right, welcome to this terrific episode of The Brosen. Not only do we have a fantastic special guest to join us today, but we got our one and only host, the audacious Adam Drake.
Oh, aloha. I just got back from Hawaii.
Oh.
We got the superior Nepo baby Sam Jenkins.
Nice. Superior Nepo baby.
Hello.
Nice.
Hello. And we have the killer Kyle Rasmussen. Rasmussen? Kyle, I may not know how to say your last name. For that, I apologize. And the one and only Mitch Hudson.
What's going on, guys? Good to see you.
You're probably going into this thinking it's like a 2000s Pokemon episode. Who is that special guest on today's episode? Well, guys, it's Snipe Life. It's the Chosen Sleuth. It is Brandon. Thank you, Brandon, for joining us. How are you today?
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, guys. This is going to be fun for sure.
Brandon, hold for applause, please. Thanks for joining us, dude.
So happy to have Brandon. Snipe, you have helped us so much and sent so many people to our channel, which we are forever grateful. And you've done some amazing videos and you've even done reviews on our podcast, which have been a lot of fun to watch. I've enjoyed watching those. So for the people who may not know you from our channel, but I'm sure they do, give us a quick little introduction to yourself and what you do, and then kind of how you got on so involved with the Chosen on everything.
Yeah, it's ironic Adam's thanking me because I wouldn't have a full-time job without you guys. So
There you go.
Yeah, for the last 3.5, almost 4 years, we've been breaking down the Chosen stuff. We've been on YouTube for about 4.5 years, and in the first year, we couldn't really find what we wanted to do. There's a lot of stuff we wanted to talk about between storytelling and Christianity, and I was a worship pastor for 10 years before I went into this full time. And so, we knew we wanted to talk about the kingdom. We knew we wanted to jump into that, but we didn't know exactly how to do it. So the first year that we were on YouTube, I think the first 10 months, we only did like 100 subscribers or something, and so we really didn't know what we were doing. We really didn't know what area we were going. Then season 2, The Chosen, came out. We really liked season 1. And so we're like, let's just jump on this season 2. Let's talk about it, see what happens. And immediately we started to see traction and our audience started to appear. And so, over the last 3.5 years, we've grown that audience first on the Snipe Life and then now on the Chosen Sleuth to kind of focus it a little bit. And so now we've been growing that and it's been great. I've been full time now for 2 years on YouTube and wow. Yeah, now we're kind of branching out a little bit, going towards stuff like The Promised Land or the best Christmas pageant ever, or some of these other projects that are coming out in 2025, which look really, really, really good. So yeah,
amazing! Congratulations.
Nice.
That's awesome, man. Yes.
Thank you.
And we love watching your stuff. I know Sam watches your stuff, and I do too. And you've been super helpful in us getting launched. So thank you again for all that you've helped us with. And,
Absolutely.
We've enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, man.
Brandon,
I love your stuff. I think it's so cool. I always love like deep dive content in general, and I think it is something that is not often used in kind of Christian media because I think so often not to come out the gate like slamming other Christian media, but I think so often there's actually not that much under the surface and historically in a lot of Christian film and TV projects, and so it's really only in the past I'd say a few years with more kind of artistic kind of Christian projects like The Chosen, like the things that Urban Brothers are doing, like Best Christian Project Ever, things like that actually do have you can analyze them of what they're saying, but you can also analyze them from an artistic standpoint and look at what they're doing. And I think that is great. And so it's really fun that you were able to kind of find that niche and just go right in on all right, I'm going to go deep dive on these things and show you not only what is so interesting about how they're telling the story, but also what is interesting about the behind the scenes of these stories. Who are the people making these shows and all those things? I think it's so cool that you do that.
Yeah, but it can go too far, right? Yesterday I watched a trailer. Of Jesus, who before his ministry is a carpenter, and he has this apprentice that's in his carpentry with him, and then he becomes a boxer. So I don't think these things are tied together all the time.
Incredible.
So, yeah, definitely.
I kind of want to watch that. He becomes a boxer.
Yeah, it's a very strange strange trailer I watched yesterday. Yeah.
Let he who is without sin throw the first fist or whatever. Just going in on it.
Brandon, I think your relationship with The Chosen is so fascinating because we all love your stuff and it's such a fun thing to watch. But it's also kind of funny because on set, we'll hear something has like leaked or something like that. And all of us will be like, gosh dang it, Snipe's going to get all over this one.
It's Brandon.
And we don't see
It's hilarious.
because it's absolutely your permission. Like, yeah.
I watch you guys so closely. I have clips of some of the cast and crew talking about me on set about things that I talked about on my videos. So that's how closely I watch you guys.
So funny.
Awesome.
That's like a meta. Yeah.
I didn't know until recently, and I was like, oh no, when you talked about the Survivor game, and I had posted a picture, and Jesse and Veronica were in the picture. I didn't even think about it.
I know. I had no idea either until I saw his video.
And he was like,
oh,
yeah,
shoot.
Like, I saw it on Survivor, and I was like, my dad's going to kill me, dude.
Yeah. Brandon has been
funny.
responsible for getting me in trouble with Dallas at least twice. Like, Dallas is like, Adam, did you post this video? And I'm like, yeah, what? There's nothing in it. And then it's like, well, Brandon broke it down and blah, 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 blah.
Oh my goodness.
There was
in the reflection in your Instagram story, you can see a bit of a color of a tunic, and that tunic was on Jesse or whatever. Like it's
just like yesterday when Mitch posted on the Promised Land series, he blacked out the golden calf for most of the video, but then there were some frames.
There's one that didn't have it. I know.
And so I have those. I might talk about it Sunday. I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, do it. I saw that post too. And I also saw that in some of the pictures, you can clearly see it. And I was like, well, there it is.
There's one as of late. I posted a picture on my story of Adam, me, and a special shout out, one of our props girls, Savannah. And, we got our jerseys on and we're facing the set. I can't say what set it is. And we're all looking over it. And it's a great picture. And my PA and one of my good friends, Anna, texted me. She's like, Snipe's going to see that. And I was like, oh, frick. And I took it down off the story for that reason. She's like, you know that Snipe's going to look at your story.
It's so funny.
Special shout out Anna Working for catching that and stopping Brandon from seeing that picture. Or maybe it's too late. Maybe he saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Brandon, for giving us a reason to for us to use the close friends option on Instagram. And I'm sorry that we have to keep you out of our close friends story.
It's all good. It's all good. Totally understand.
Right. Yeah.
I keep on telling people 2025 is going to be the year of testing for Christian media. I think things like the Promised Land series and things like that are coming out in 2025, it's going to be the year for this explosion of new Christian media. I think it's going to be so cool. So the top 5 projects that I'm looking at are definitely, obviously, The Chosen. We're looking at the Promised Land series. We're looking at Testament, which is like a modern day retelling of the book of Acts. That's through Angel right now.
Ooh.
And then House of David, which is like through Wonder Project, which of course Dallas is invested in. And there's a bunch of other stuff that's kind of surrounded around that. And then there's one more, I think. Obviously, all of that stuff is interesting to me. The kid show is cool. I told Sam because he asked me ahead of time what I thought was coming through the announcements and stuff. And I was like, I think it's going to be an animated show. And I was like, I'm not super excited about that just because it's not down my lane, right?
Right.
So it's not something that I'm like going to follow super, super, super closely, most likely. My wife actually might take on a series that we do through that. So instead of me doing it, she might jump in and do that.
Yeah,
Dang,
I remember coming
that's
into
great.
CHOSEN and I was like, what do you think we're going to say? And you go, I think an animated show. And I literally went like, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see.
When it comes to the children's show, Brandon was right. It is one of those things that without other productions on the outside happening, without clearly any of us knowing, it's like, what would be coming down the pipeline? Yeah. And then to me, an animated show really makes sense when you look at, in the past, Dallas and Amanda both have done children's books and have done more kind of focused on the, I don't want to say the colorful world of the children and the Bible and things like that. But then you look at the past of where Out of Order Studios has been as well. I think it kind of makes sense for a new animated show to come out for sure.
And especially from Chris Kuhn, like I feel like his heart is so much for animation. Like his career has been so much in animation.
I mean, he's got serious credits in animation. Yeah,
serious animation credits, connections.
He worked on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Yeah,
so Spider-Man 2.
And Spider-Man 2.
And Spider-Man 2, which is crazy.
I think didn't he do Ghost Rider? Like the Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider? I know Will did.
Wait, really?
The greatest movie of all time, you mean? Ghost Rider?
Ghost Rider.
Going off what Ben said about my parents doing it, like children's stuff, like all growing up, like my dad was friends with Phil Vischer, creator of VeggieTales. I'd watch all that kind of stuff. My parents have had a heart for like children ever since I've been around. Like we've done volunteering and children's ministry and like volunteering for special needs classes and whatnot. Like all growing up, they've had a heart for children and taking care of children. And some of the best stories we've ever had have come from kids watching the show and loving the show. So having something for them, I think, is really awesome of what we're doing, and getting to make it with some of the most talented people around right now is also pretty awesome. Like Paul Walter Hauser, come on, somebody, as Willie would say. That's pretty awesome. And yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. It looks awesome. Even I'm going to be watching, even if it's by myself in my house, just like watching. I gotta stop saying like. I know that. Watching on my own or with my roommates as if it were an episode of VeggieTales, which I'm not going to confirm or deny that I recently rewatched Larry Boy and The Fit from Outer Space, but that's neither here nor there.
Probably the best one. I love VeggieTales. Honestly, I talk about it a lot with making The Promised Land because, of course, we run into a lot of stuff about just, can you do the Bible and be funny, which a lot of people are not sure about. But I always kind of point back. I'm like, I grew up on VeggieTales. As a child, I grew up on the premise of you can learn about the Bible and still be having fun. And still, they were cucumbers, dude. You know what I mean? And I still got it. You know what I mean? I still learned important stuff. And that's kind of, VeggieTales is very much, I think, a kind of a trailblazer in lighthearted spiritual content. So yeah, I think it's cool that the Chosen is kind of entering into that space too. And it should be pretty cute. I mean, from what we've seen of, I think Chris showed me some of the early like mock-ups when we first started season 5, and then of course saw the trailer at ChosenCon, or the little clip I guess that they showed. It should be pretty cute. Man. Hopefully, yeah, it looks
really good.
I mean, again, like Sam said, like if I were not associated with the Chosen, it's an interesting question of whether or not I would just willingly watch it. You know what I mean? Like I think I might just be like, okay, great, I'm glad it exists. You know what I mean? But since I work on the show, I'll watch it because I love the show. But
I think that's where I'm at, even if it's my parents' show. I think from an outside perspective, it would be interesting to get into. But I know people that are my age that watch Bluey on the regular, so it could be something like that. Like dude, Bluey is, yeah.
I was going to say,
loves Bluey.
If Bluey, I don't have kids. My wife and I don't have kids. We are not even planning for kids. But will I watch Bluey? Yeah, I will. Bluey's an incredible show. Hey, it's fantastic.
Listen, I watched Trash Truck. There's a show called Trash Truck for me more than David, my son. Like, so I love that show. Do you guys remember the animated series that was like on a couple of years ago? Like they were pushing this animated series about David. I don't know, Brandon. Did you ever see that come out? There was like
it's not out yet. They did like some shows of it, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I was like so captivated by that show. I love animated
great
shows anyway. Yeah. I was curious if you knew anything like where that one was at or because you haven't seen much.
So originally that one at one point surpassed The Chosen for the most crowdfunded project.
Wow.
For the movie. And then they put out like little episodes like on Angel. So like they did little episodes for I think maybe 4 or 5 of them.
Oh, okay.
They're still planning to do the full movie. I think next year maybe.
Speaking of watching and of the animated show which picks up the stories of the kids that Jesus meets in episode 3. Is that what's next on our watch list, Adam?
Yes. Let's get into episode 3. So yeah, we've got a nice treat. We're going to do that with Brandon, which I think will be a lot of fun.
Let's go.
We'll get into episode 3, which is fun for us too, because as Mitch and Ben know, that was the very first thing we shot. So yeah, let's get into it.
October 22nd, 2018, I think.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not going to pretend to be offended by what Adam just said, because that was also the very first day I came to set and met everyone else. But that's fine. That's neither here nor there. And we can brush that past that one.
Get this child off set.
Yeah, you were a child.
You were there on the first day, sir?
That was I saw the very first. This was the very first time I got to come to set. Was watching this episode and seeing Jesus interact with all the chillins.
He's like, remember, I was the PA out in the field.
Yeah, we left him out at the gate. We didn't. That's why I didn't see you, Sam.
We left him at the gate. Yeah, that gate changed him.
All right, let's get it going.
Just seeing the opening credits and seeing John Quinn, our editor, who's incredible. John Quinn and Adam Ludish are both great. It is funny though, like the relationship between on set and then the editorial of a production. And our running joke with Akis is that if he made a mistake with a shot, or something, if it was on a dolly and it bumped, or whatever, something happened, we'll always just be like, that's the take that John Quinn will use. And he's just be like, do not let John Quinn see this shot, okay? He doesn't get to see this one. We're going to fix it, and then nothing. And then if I make a mistake with background, it'd be the same thing. Like, he's going to be like, well, that's the one John Quinn's going to use. And I'll say, no.
Isn't this the same guy who put the fart in Jesus getting up out of bed, that one episode that we played on the live stream?
What's happening? You don't even have to be there to perform miracles. Don't sound so surprised, John. One day you'll be given authority to do the things I do.
What fart? What lesson? Do you know about that, Brandon?
Do you know about that?
As an aside, do you know about that story?
I don't think so.
My dad and the editors are editing episodes, and my dad's looking at takes for the first time. Every once in a while, the editors will sneak a fart in a cut, and it'll catch my dad off guard. Bruh. So in season 2, there's a scene where Jesus is getting out of bed, and that's where they put the fart, where he's getting up, and you just hear,
and he stretches.
It's very loud. So
yeah,
they didn't take it out in time when they were showing it to the investors on the live stream. So they're watching it for the first time, and Jesus gets up, he stretches, and you just hear, and my mom turns white as a ghost, and she's like, "Is that you?" to my dad, and he's like, "Oh no, we didn't take it out. That's the cut." So across YouTube, you hear people like, "Did Jesus just fart?"
The comment section. It was like a private.
Fully human.
Off screen is my dad off screen human, is full tears, crying, laughing, and the editors are like, we're so sorry, we forgot to take it out of the episode, as it's just did Jesus
amazing.
We we had gotten a link, so there was like a link that went out just to the investors that had this pre kind of release episode. I think it was supposed to go out publicly the very next day, but it was like a day early. You can watch it if you have the link, and they sent it out to the crew as well. And so I'm in Florida with my parents, my sister's boyfriend, my wife, my fiance at the time, and I was just like, oh my gosh, we got to watch this new episode of The Chosen. It's gonna be so impactful. We're all just sitting there, and then Jesus just sits up and goes, and I think we were all watching. I start like tearing up laughing. And my dad was like, you know what? He was like, first he was like, did he fart? And I was like, yeah, he did. But not supposed to be there. That's not the intention. But then my dad starts defending it. He was like, well, you know what? Like, he was a man. He was all this stuff. And I was like, Dad, we are not having Jesus fart on this TV show. We're definitely not going to keep it. It's going to be removed.
I have a question about the opening scene. So when I watched that originally, and I've watched it with other folks a few times, there's debates on what's happening right there, what Jesus is going through. Obviously, it's like this scene of temptation. He's struggling. But I've heard like theories, and I don't know, because I wasn't involved in season 1 either, really. But is that Jesus in the wilderness, right? I've heard thoughts, like theories that's like Jesus in the wilderness experiencing his 40 days kind of thing, and like he's going through temptation. I don't know if you guys have heard theories like that or anything within that episode, because it's not that Jesus in the wilderness isn't really depicted anywhere. I guess, obviously, right?
The chagrin of much of the fan base, yes.
Yeah, I can confirm that it's never going to happen. But I mean, obviously not, because we're at the point of the show now. We're
too
just
far.
Getting crucified. But
just an odd flashback.
I think, and I probably should know this. I'm sorry, Dad, because you're obviously watching this.
Sorry, Dad.
Isn't it during season 2 in the timeline where we meet Philip? And then Jesus is coming back into camp, and this is him returning from the 40 days. Am I wrong about that, Brandon? Do you know? Or I'm sure Brandon
The
knows
40
more than
days
me.
is never shown in the show as far as I know. It can't be the 40 days because he's like eating and stuff during this.
Yeah, that's true.
This is after he's met. This is technically the first point in the show, right? So this is after he's met Thaddeus and little James, but before he's met Mary Magdalene. Like 3/4 of the way through this episode is when he meets Mary Magdalene. Then episode 1 starts after this episode, or like episode 2 will start after this episode.
I'm sorry, Dad. I didn't know that.
It's weird because in the first episode we see Andrew running in saying, or not the first episode, the 4th episode where he comes in and he says, right? Am I right about it? Where he says that he's seen Jesus basically.
Yeah,
And so that's like when, because before that,
episode
Andrew
4,
knows
so
nothing. So somewhere in the timeline, Jesus goes from healing Mary to Shabbat to getting baptized. Then the 40 days is just not, it's not there. It's like truncated into nothing. Basically.
Funnily enough, that's my first memory of shooting anything because I remember Akis going rogue on that night. And so we had the shots we were gonna do. Well, I wasn't in the crew yet. The shots they were gonna do, and then Akis was like, I got some ideas. Want to let me play a little bit? And so some of the most personal and intense shots of close-ups of his hands and his face. That's all Akis understanding the script and going off just like his own genius Greek brain of figuring out where to go.
It takes
and what to
Greek
do.
Brain. Everything up there is just olives and incredible cinematography.
He only thinks in Greek.
Before we started using headsets between Akis and his camera operators, I would stand next to Akis as like the person communicating from him to the rest of set, etc. And in season 3, we had a Greek camera operator, and Akis would talk to him in Greek over, like, he'd be kind of over the headset, but I'd still be next to him trying to like make sure Adam knows what's going on. But they were talking in Greek, so I didn't really know what was actually happening. But I would like Google Translate sometimes like the words I would hear. And my favorite one was one time he was watching, he just goes, Lados, 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 Lados. And I looked it up and it just means like error. It's just like wrong.
One question I would have for you guys as a fan is like, do you ever look back at moments like this and think like, oh, wow, we could have done that thing so much better? Or like if we had more budget here or here, like every time I probably watch this episode, I mean, upwards of 40 or 50 times with different groups and different people. And every single time the thing that people talk to me about is the rock wall. And they're like, what is with that rock wall? What is going on?
This rock wall right here.
So funny.
Yeah.
I've wondered this too,
right.
Genuinely.
So
I
can definitely speak into the rock wall.
Okay.
That is 100% a budget problem because it was a continued discussion. Dallas hated it. We all did.
Okay.
And of course, James hated it. And James is a great production designer, as we've seen. Like we've seen what he can do with money. And so it was just one of those things where it was just like we were over budget. We didn't have money for a rock wall. I think originally we didn't even have anything. And so they had to put it together quickly too. So it was very much like we don't have anything for them to hide behind. So now we have to build something. And we did try to avoid it with camera as much as possible. Right. So Akis very much tried to avoid it as much as possible and stay out of focus like this and continue. So we did our best to avoid it. But yes, if we could go back. Yes, if we could have more time and a little more money, we could have done a much better wall that doesn't look bad.
Also, have you guys seen the horror edit of this episode?
Yes.
Where it's like a horror movie?
Yes, the horror edit is phenomenal.
Don't worry. I'm not a bad man.
It's done by my friend David. It's so good.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. I didn't know that existed.
It's so funny.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It is Ben Stockton, one of your favorite members of the Brosen. Thank you so much for giving us a listen or a watch today, whatever platform you're on. I wanted to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Trevecca Nazarene University. They are rated one of Middle Tennessee's top Christian universities. They have an outstanding film and television degree, and they're the alma mater of our very own Adam Drake. Plus, he's a professor there right now. So, if you go to Trevecca, you can not only get a film degree, but you can maybe have Adam Drake, our host of The Brosen, as your professor. How crazy would that be? All that to say, if you want to check it out and go to a fabulous school in the heart of Nashville, go check them out at trevecca.edu.
Yeah, this scene to me is like one of the most important because of the way that we see Jonathan for the first time in his divinity as Jesus. And so like for me to introduce the Shema in that way is so important. Like just being able to have a TV show that introduces the Shema is such a profound thing because in Judaism, the Shema is like it's the core belief, right? Like I was in Israel earlier this year and I had a Jewish man come up to me and be like, okay, what religion are you? And I'm like, well, I'm a Christian. He's like, well, what does that mean? You know, I'm like, oh, I'm an evangelical Christian. He's like, does that mean you're polytheistic or monotheistic? He didn't even know, right? He doesn't fully understand what that means. And so I'm like, well, I believe in the Shema, right? I believe that, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is God, the Lord is one. And he's like, oh, that makes sense. It helped me to get his understanding of what I believe, right?
Sure.
And then I can kind of get into it more from there. So like having a show that just introduces that concept alone, I think is so huge. And it's one of the subtle things that The Chosen does that's just so profound, I think. It's such a good moment there.
Yeah, I think especially I grew up in like small town country, Tennessee. So like the word Christian, everybody's Christian, right? It's like, I'm a Christian. But it's like, that's such a broad term. Like, okay, but what does that mean? There's so many different types and different beliefs as a Christian. So yeah, that's cool.
And different associations with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I think saying Christian, sometimes people can kind of just invoke sort of like a loosey-goosey crucifix around your neck kind of. Oh, okay.
Like a badge.
It's more like a cultural thing than necessarily like a practice thing. You know what I mean? Like, whereas... And, which I guess is kind of the same for Judaism. There are people who are just kind of like, you know, heritagely Jewish, but not necessarily like practicing Jewish. Versus, of course, in Israel, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are obviously both. You know what I mean? And quite a bit of it, yeah.
Something I love is like I realized in this is like this is the first time we're seeing Jesus teaching to the children. You know, and you think about the scripture says like. To have like the faith of a child, you know, Jesus talks about like those are the ones that can enter the kingdom of heaven. It's like that's a really bad paraphrasation, but you know, I love though how like this is in the show. It's like it seems like a very intentional choice. Sam, you could probably speak to that, but like that that we're seeing Jesus speak to the children first, like as a teacher. You know, and it's just like, and the way that the children receive that is so amazing. Like they're so ready to listen, you know? And then we go to the Pharisees and they're like so stubborn and they're just in their, you know, Jesus is frustrated by the later seasons that they just don't get it, you know? And it's like the children are just like, all right, let's do it. I get it. Let's move on. They don't need to have all the answers either.
When you grow up, you have all your own opinions and you form your own beliefs based on what you've been taught as a kid growing up. You're much more like receptive and responsive to hearing things for the first time, especially from someone who is kind of treating them like an adult, like Jesus is like, I'm going to let you build this. And is it tight? Great, good. And all the stuff that he's teaching them here, they're much more receptive and they're much more open. And that'll probably help form what their beliefs are later down the line. Whereas when it comes to the Pharisees who've been taught one thing their entire life, they're so stubborn as to like, this is what I've known my whole life. And what you're telling me is not what I believe. And they were taught to stone him and to persecute him and kill people for not believing what they believe. So, but as a kid, you're much more responsive and open to it. So
I think it's such a great choice as a director to introduce Jesus like this, because you're introducing it. It's for us, it's for filmmakers, it's the save the cat moment, right? Obviously Christians know who Jesus is and we all know that he was perfect and all these things, but for the audience that doesn't know, it's just filmmaker, like say it's just a filmmaker who's not a believer, like you're already doing it the right way as a filmmaker too, of going, here's the main guy, here's why you should love him, because he's so gentle and like great with these kids, so that later on when he's ripping people a new one, like it's like, oh, okay,
you're on his side.
You're on his side. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's just great storytelling, even outside of the Bible. Like if you're not doing that at all, you know.
Yeah, that's true. It is to save the cat.
Yeah,
that's
totally
funny.
Save the cat.
Do you know that phrase, Brandon?
I mean, no, not necessarily.
I was going to say our
No, I was
audience
a
probably
pastor
doesn't know what
for
that
a long
means.
time.
So there's a famous book that's called Save the Cat, and it's for writers. And basically they say in the first, what is it, Mitch, maybe 5-10 minutes, they say of your story, you need to, your main character that you want everyone to love needs to save the cat. They need to have a save the cat moment to where you go, oh, I like that guy. He's the good guy because he did he does that, he saved the cat out of a tree basically. So yeah, on the days that you see rain, that was a tough day. It definitely wasn't planned for rain. It rained on us an entire day. It rained all day long. We were all soaked, and it's so hard to shoot in the rain. You have expensive camera gear and lights and all that stuff that can't get wet. And so it just makes everything move much slower. It's something that would normally take us an hour will easily take us 2, maybe 3. And so we just got as many montage shots as we could and shots that could work in the rain, which we'll get to, the final scene with Abby by herself when she finds the camp by herself was that day. And we only shot for half a day because that's all the scenes we could do in the rain. Otherwise, they had to match another scene. So we ended up losing about half a day to the rain. But it made the final scene really pay off and be really nice, I think.
From the fans' perspective, this is the biggest controversial moment, I think, in The Chosen so far. Whenever this episode first came out, a lot of people were like really freaking out about the fact that Jesus would have a wound. Like, how would he get that wound in the first place if he's a perfect person, right? I think this is where a lot of people started to realize, oh, Jesus is sinless, but he may not be like a perfect human in the sense of like, he does everything that you think that he should do perfectly, right?
Right.
This is a really interesting moment, I think, for a lot of the fans when they first saw this one. What was your perspective on it as you guys saw it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I think, because I guess is the implication that he got a wound from, like, I guess while working, he just like nicked himself, basically.
Yeah, or like maybe he's walking through the forest and he trips or something else happens. Like something would have happened accidentally for him to get this. Like, does he make accidents,
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. Again, I would agree with you in terms of like, there's a difference between being sinless and like did Jesus never like miss a step on a staircase? You know what I mean? Like that's not, quite like the same, right? Like, it does kind of raise that question of like, okay, well, was Jesus also like all knowing while he was being Jesus? Because like, would God trip, if God was in the forest kind of stuff, but also Jesus is fully human, then he's also gravity and body and all those things that can affect him as well. Yeah.
Well, and I feel like it would be too much of like putting him on a pedestal if we like almost idolizing him more if we thought that he was a perfect, almost immortal being that like didn't get hurt and didn't have sores and didn't have these mess ups. Like, I guarantee you one time he dropped his knife and banged his head coming back up from reaching over to grab it. You know what I mean? Like, we all do that. That's what makes us human. It's these things that we can't control, that it's just like, hey, it's what happened today. So yeah, I think it's one of those moments that not only shows, hey, I did get a wound, but I also need to bandage it because it could fester and it could infect just like anybody else. So got to take care of it.
Right. It would have been wild if Jesus had just held his arm out like that and then he just Wolverine sealed. Just looking
closed.
At it.
I think it's as simple as
fire.
Yeah. It's as simple as like, if he could never get hurt, he can never be crucified. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think yeah. It's like, how does he get hurt is an interesting question, right? It's like, was Jesus the best carpenter of all time? Right? Like, if God was a carpenter, like, would he be the greatest one ever? I mean, if Jesus was a good carpenter, he could have just done that his whole life,
Well, he was also...
but clearly his carpentry wasn't taken off. I'm just kidding.
This mystery of Christ is so crazy because he is fully man, but he is fully God. And so where does that boundary lie? I think it's one of the hardest things that you guys have had to do in this show, that Dallas had to do with the writers. Like, how do you navigate that? It's so difficult.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that excuse next time I do something wrong on set, where it's like, did I make a mistake or did I sin, Mitch?
I'll say, Sam, darn well it was both.
Sam, I thought you were going to be like, I'm going to use that excuse that going forward, when I make a mistake, I'm going to go, I'm full man, I'm not full God.
Just a man.
Let's don't get it twisted here. Yeah.
Would Jesus
I'm just a man, Mitch.
Listen, would Jesus have gotten the timing wrong on background wardrobe? Who knows? But
who knows? It's not for us to say. Yeah, but I did.
Rumi is so good in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
He is good. I also think it'd be really fun to do like a super cut of like him saying that speech to them about like when Messiah arrives in Jerusalem, don't expect him to show up on a tall horse and stuff, and then cut to like his arrival and stuff like that. I think would be very cool to see. A fan edit. I'll make an account. I'll make it.
This episode
we don't need any more fan edits.
This episode is so interesting to me because it's basically a microcosm of the show, and I think really what Dallas is doing with this is like he's like, this is what you're going to experience in my show. You're going to see how the chosen people follow Jesus and ask him these questions and learn, and some of them are going to get it, some of them are not going to get it, and then in the end he's not going to be there anymore, you know.
Right.
And so I think this whole episode is such a good like hey, if you're going to like this show, you're going to like this episode, you know, sort of thing. And it really buys people into it. It's really, really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
What are the hardships with you guys doing night scenes like this? Like, how do you, because I know so often people complain about it being too dark or there's like different things like that. How do you navigate those type of things from your guys' point of view? Or like, how do you guys think about that?
Oh boy, night shoots are a big challenge. So
horrible.
Not only do we have to shift our schedule and we go from the Chosen's absolute worst as far as going from like a 5-day week, Monday through Friday. We go Monday, 7 a.m. call, Tuesday, 7 a.m. call, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 a.m. call, Friday, 6 p.m. call. So we just went from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. all week. And now on Friday, we got almost a whole day off. And then we start at 6 p.m. and have to shoot all night, especially in the summers when it doesn't get dark until 8 p.m. So we're completely revamping our schedule, everybody's sleep schedule. And then you got to stay up all night. And then you got to try to turn that around and start back again Monday morning at 7 a.m. So there's that aspect of it. And then at night, there is no light. The camera doesn't see any natural moonlight that's coming through. So we have to create every bit of light. So everything just takes longer. So coverage has to be much more simple. If we're trying to cover 15 disciples at night, that's a minimum of 15 setups. Well, it's hard to do 15 setups in one night, where normally we could do 15 setups during the day. We do about a little more. So if we average 30 setups a day during the day, we probably average just above 50% of that on a night shoot. So like 15 to 20 max for a night shoot. So it's just much slower process as well.
Just like a generally difficult. You're doing difficult things that are harder than the stuff you're doing in the daytime, and you're doing it not at 100%. Like you're doing it, like Adam said, like you're coming out of a week of day shoots and you're switching to night, and so you're not really fully there mentally or physically, and so you're kind of like, all right, what's going on? You know, you're trying to get all this stuff set up. It's a real endurance test. I mean, all of filmmaking is really an exercise in endurance, but especially nights, and especially movies that are mostly at night, those are brutal because you're just like, even if you're getting onto a schedule of like, okay, we'll just do every week as a night shoot, right? But then your weekends, it's like, okay, well, I guess I have to just stay on this night shift schedule. It's weird.
There was actually, in believe it or not, this first season of The Chosen, there was one of the wranglers for, I think he worked both transportation and animal, but Travis Locke, if y'all remember him, Travis worked a lot in Louisiana, and I had talked to him, especially one night. It may have been during this week. I don't remember exactly, but he had mentioned that he had just worked on, funny enough, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter in Louisiana. And he was like, it was a 50-day shoot. And 50-day shoot, 35 days of the shooting was at night. And insane. He was like, it was just 6 weeks straight of literally working every night. And he was like, your body changes, your mind changes. Like by the end of 2 months, he was like, I was a different person because I was working every night, just brutal hours. So I couldn't even imagine doing that many.
Yeah. I was going to piggyback on what Mitch was saying earlier about like brutal times and not being at 100%, because I know Ben, Kyle, and I will have to have like sometimes 3 hour, 2.5 hour pre-calls. And in Utah, especially, where all of us, the closest we live is like 30 minutes away. So we have to strategically be like, all right, what time can we consume something to keep us awake? And is that going to affect our sleep the rest of the day moving forward? And can we be safe while driving? To where I'll remember Ben or Kyle and I will text each other in seasons 3 and 4 and just be like, you see that 3:45 call time for a time that's going to wrap at 6 a.m. in the morning? Yep. All right. We're going to.
Yeah.
And Ben will be like, Sam, you leave early. I'm like, no, you leave early, Ben.
Yeah. I have definitely only on the Chosen have gotten up and gone to work at 3:30 in the morning. Fantastic.
It's brutal.
But also be,
I'm so glad I'm a YouTuber.
Make your own hours, Brandon. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's also the night shoot where Kyle left me alone in a cow field to my own devices and kept me asleep. So that's one of those same nights.
That's right.
It actually worked to my advantage. Made me look good, but I was, just trying to see what happened by, getting you in trouble. No, I'm kidding.
He was trying to get him fired.
Yeah.
He was like, I want someone else to find Sam, but none of us could find Sam.
Because I was asleep.
Right.
The cows found me.
Cows found him.
Yeah, so this scene we actually shot in the rain as well. It had let up, as you can see. It's not like pouring, but it was still rainy, and it worked. And it ended up working really well for the story. The dark and gloomy gave it the right feel for the final scene, which was awesome.
Are these things made, or you buy them?
These were made. Yeah, we mostly made. I think we might have bought the horse, but the whole structure, the dollhouse, was made by our art team.
Well, guys, that was episode 3.
That's episode 3. So fun to see it. So fun to see. It's a nice, simple one. It's sweet. I remember this was back in the phase of the first 2 seasons were, Dallas writes the 3rd episode basically alone. And then I think that kind of stopped in season 3 and onward.
It stopped 4. He didn't do Rama's episode. He did the first 3 episode 3s and then stopped at season 4.
Oh, right. I guess because season 3 when Jesus goes to Nazareth. Yeah. Very character-driven episodes. Very fun.
And then
that
season
episode
4,
directly
episode
correlates
3.
to this one as well, with the messianic passage from Isaiah, where he talks about that in the synagogue as well.
Yeah.
Brandon knows
physician,
things.
heal
We
yourself.
all know how smart Brandon is.
Actually, it's really fun to have someone like you, Brandon, on this, because it's like, I think, on the production side, you get so kind of just lost in like almost you get so focused on like one little part, or but then you get this amazing like perspective to kind of glue things together. I mean, honestly, some of the things you shared, I'm like, oh wow, I never really actually considered that or thought about it. So it just enriches the show so much more. So it's really a gift that you the insight you offer to fans and just to make the show even deeper. So I appreciate the work you do.
Yeah.
If I ever want to know where my dad is currently, I should just text Brandon and be like, what's my dad doing right now? It's like, oh, he's in Los Angeles editing.
Where's Palace?
I was hanging out with
Palace?
him last week.
We're just going to get a selfie of them two together.
Los Angeles editing.
That's so funny. No, I think it's cool. Like, I do think it's nice, your perspective on everything, Brandon, because one, you've seen these things so many times, but even I think you said you've seen this particular episode like 40 times or something like that. Like, I wish I could see it once from your perspective, if that makes sense. Because when I watch these episodes, I enjoy them and they're really satisfying. They do connect for me emotionally, but it's really hard to see something that you worked on with the same eyes that others would see it. Like I look at it and I think about the days. Like I think about what we were shooting that day and how it was going. And I still see the episode, but I see it in the sense of like, yeah, we pulled that off. You know what I mean? Like I see it almost more like, I think the episodes of The Chosen to me are more like when a football team watches like replays of their most recent game to learn from them. You know what I mean? They're not watching it like, oh, I wonder who's going to, like they were there. They know what happens. And so I think for more, they're kind of looking at a very technical kind of aspect of like, oh, okay, yeah, it's cool how we pulled this thing off. I remember how it was raining or how, we did this or that thing. I do remember this was the craziest thing. For season 4, I remember I was texting Adam a GIF of my response to each episode as I was reading them. You remember this, Adam? And I didn't know that Adam was screen sharing his computer at the time and had Dallas and a bunch of people in the room with him. And I sent Adam, I was like, just finished reading episode 1 of season 4, and it was just a GIF of like someone falling asleep. and Dallas came up to me later in the like production office and stuff. He was like, "Yeah, I saw your GIF about episode 1," and I was like, "Oh!" And he was like, it was actually super cool. He was like, "What do you think?" He was like, "What was the moment that I know you're like just joking?" He's like, "But what was the moment that made you kind of feel bored?" And I remember at the time I was like, well, there's like an 8-page scene of Zebedee selling oil to some Pharisees. I was like, dude, he's selling oil to Pharisees. Like, I don't need that much of that moment. You know what I mean? And I think he was like, yeah. And I think he like cut like 3 pages out of it. Like, it's still a pretty long scene, even in the show, but like it was way longer. And he cut like quite a bit out of it because he was like, you're right. Like, what's the point? Is across, like we don't really need much more.
Mitch is like, you're welcome.
You know what I mean? He like put it down. So Chosen fans, you're welcome. No, I'm just kidding. I think he was already planning on doing it. He was just confirming
Mitch
it. You know
saved
what I mean?
the Chosen.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. Yeah.
Look, this episode is just so insightful, which with Brandon on the
here
show
it comes.
Should be
here it is.
No surprise to anyone. It should be no surprise, unlike the Greeks using the Trojan. So we want to thank Brandon for having chosen the Brosen.
Chosen the Brosen. My gosh. Sam has never successfully.
How long have you been writing that? Like, just down there.
I've got notes, Sam. I've got notes.
If you watch back this recording, Mitch is having a really serious conversation about writing. And then I just start giggling to myself because I thought of it. I was like, so for the last 5 minutes, I've been sitting on my screen trying not to laugh, being like, I want to say Trojan with Brosen.
Not listening to anything that Mitch was saying.
No, I was listening to all of it. I was trying to find.
He's got his like notes app open. He's like things that rhyme with Brosen.
I was listening because I was trying to find my way in.
Brandon, what is something that is there something you would like to promote, plug before you go? What should we look for in the next episode of the Chosen Sleuth, or what? And maybe it might not be, again, this episode might come out in a while, but what are some things that we should be on the lookout for you?
Yeah, on the Chosen Sleuth, that's the stuff that's going to be most correlating to over here. And obviously, I'm going to be breaking down the Chosen still. We're going through seasons 1 through 3. I might be close to done with it by the time this episode comes out. But there's a lot of stuff through seasons 1 through 3. And then, of course, we'll jump into season 5 when it comes out. There's actually a lot of secrets about season 5 you can find out about my channel if you want to go check it out. So
Nice.
lots of leaks. Let's say that.
That's the giggle I imagine Brandon has every time one of us leaks secrets. He's like, ooh, that's
oh my gosh.
just like,
here it comes.
Money.
Yeah.
Well, you can't tell,
no, of course not.
3,000, 5,000 people at Chosen Con a secret and then imagine there's no leaks.
It's gotta happen. I know.
Didn't my dad have to text you and be like, listen, man, there's some stuff where you gotta be. He texted Brandon,
like, please, for the love of God.
Can you just be Brandon the fan for once? Can you be Brandon the fan for
no,
once?
I told him. Yeah. I told him it's not going to come from me, but if there's leaks, I may just have to be like,
look at that.
Look, someone else. Yeah.
No, I loved joking with Brandon at Chosen Con. Every time I would see him be like, you didn't get that one. And then when all the shows were announced and he didn't guess those, I was like,
it's so funny.
From across the room, like, you didn't know that one. It was fun.
Ha! Just from the back of a 5,000 person crowd goes, ha!
Yes. But I appreciate it. I really thank you guys for having me for sure.
Yeah, dude, great to have you, man. You're a great guest. So really much fun to have on this. Glad we got to go through the episode together.
Thank you, Brandon, for being a part of the show.
Yeah,
man, it was fun.
That's right. Thank you for having
Chosen the Brosen.
Chosen the Brosen. Let's go.
Yes.
Hey everybody, how's it going? So thank you for tuning in. I'm just kidding. It just
that was great. That was nothing was
great. Go.
It was awesome.
He was like a little over the top.
No notes.
0 notes.
So, yeah, 8, 7. Yeah, here we go. Here it comes.
Benji, you're my favorite person in the world.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today on The Chosen. So before we get into a special guest, I just wanted... I want to go through... And did I say The Chosen? Take it back.
No notes. That was perfect.
No notes. Perfect.
Brandon,
Change
we're not
nothing, but
All right, here we go.
better. Yeah.
It's okay.
Have y'all heard of that? I think it was an animated movie in the 90s called King of Egypt. They did a pretty good Bible retelling.
Yeah.
Oh, Prince of Egypt?
Oh, yeah. See, what did I say? King of Egypt? See, I was meaning it more of a joke, and then nobody said anything, and I was like, I think I just failed.
The little movie, The Prince of Egypt. No, I don't know if anyone's seen it.
Oh man,
Adam, what was your mom save the cat moment?
So Steven. All
my God.
Hit play. Yeah.
Mitch, where's the button where you can kick a certain number out so we can keep recording?
I'll text it to you. Yeah.
No.